Hi there, my name's Iona Crosby and I'm going to be taking you through a super easy tutorial on how to get a virtual performance. Now I'm going to be taking you from start to finish using Garageband for all the audio mixing and Final Cut Pro for the final video edit that we will do. It will be in two videos, so this video will all be about the mixing and mastering of the audio using Garageband, and the next video that I'll do is in Final Cut Pro just to break it up for you a little bit. So a bit about me, I've been playing bass and percussion since the ages of 8 and 10, and I grew up through the Perth and Kinross Instrumental Music Service, and I was pretty much involved with every single band you could think of. I then left Perth and went to Birmingham Conservatoire and studied there and got a bachelor's degree in jazz. I now teach back in Perth and Kinross and also Fife, and I teach both bass and percussion. And for those bandies out there, I have been an active member of Perthshire Brass since I was 10, way back in 2006. I am completely self-taught in video editing, however I do have a higher qualification from school in mixing audio, so hence why I'm still with Garageband. So here's a couple of things that I've been up to recently in the past year. So the first one I'd like to show you is our big band that just went out last Thursday. Next one I'd like to show you is one of our percussion ensemble ones. This is Crazy Train that we did, and we also won the Scottish Youth Brass Band Awards in October just there with this one here. So here's what we did with this one. So everything you just saw there was used with GarageBand and Final Cut Pro. So I'll show you exactly the way I usually do things. So straight on to step one is creating a click track. Now this is vital for the people that you're wanting to perform in this video to listen along to and try and play in time, because there is no conductor to watch. So it is important that they have something to listen to when they're recording. So for my click track, what I did was something like this. Hi guys, this is your click track for Faith. Just a couple of performance notes before we start. I'll just talk you through what we're going to do for the virtual recording. So at the start, I will give you 2 bars in, and then you will start at bar 1. And as we go along the piece, I will call out the rehearsal mark. So you'll hear me say at bar 5 that it's bar 5, just in case you get lost. We play all the way through it as normal. So as you can hear at the beginning there, I was speaking at the beginning, giving them clear, concise instructions on what we're going to do in this track that we selected. And through the click track as well, if I skip it forward. 29. I have a very, very basic metronome, and also I played the bass in there as well, just so people had something to kind of groove along to, because the last thing we'd want in the video is for the kids to look like, or anyone to look like, that they're standing waiting for a bus, which is sometimes what's happened when they've got a big period of counting involved. Also what I did was call out the rehearsal mark, so that helps when there's lots of repeats and there's codas, so the kids know exactly where they are, and it's much easier for you as well to line them up at the end. So I sent that click track out to everyone that I wanted to be in the video, and they played along with that. I also made it quite clear in the team here that everything that I wanted them to do. So I had the part assignments. I told them that they could pick their part since this was our first project. Solos, I let them know where the solos were, how to record your video, so I made it really clear that I wanted them to fill in landscape mode if possible, and I explained why. So this is best for me for video editing later on. And also use the click track with headphones on, otherwise we're going to hear the click track in the final mix and it just doesn't sound good at all. And then I gave them a little deadline to get the recordings in for me. Which brings me on to step 2, collecting the videos. Now there is a ton of different things you can use to get their videos. You can set up a Google Drive where all the players have a link to the folder and they can just pop their videos in there. There's also Web Transfer, I think it's WeTransfer, where you can send up to 2 GB of storage file into an email, and that gives the person who's receiving the email a link to open it and download it. Or you can use Microsoft OneDrive, which is what I use with my colleagues. So I'll let you see what we've got. So we've got a little percussion ensemble file that we share between each other. And in here, I'll just go into this folder because you heard this one. We have all the player videos that we've just uploaded into here. So there's a lot of different videos in here. Yeah, as you can see, the drummer needed a bit of different takes. So there's lots of different things in here. So you've got sometimes the names of the kids, so you have to click on the video to see what they've recorded. Some of them are already labelled anyway, so it's absolutely fine. You can just download them straight away. And here up at the top of OneDrive, you've got the download button, and that downloads a video that you select, just like that, straight onto your laptop, computer, whatever device you're using. Once you've downloaded the videos, you want to keep them in a place that'll be easiest for you to get to later. So I've got a big external hard drive where I keep everything in. I've got all these different kind of projects that we did in here, but since we're looking at Crazy Train at the minute, I'll just show you in here. So I've got one folder for MP3s and another for videos, and this is where I put all the downloaded videos. And I like to keep everything quite neat, otherwise it does get a bit cluttered, and if you've got everything all over your desktop, it's not great to work with. So nice little folders, one MP3s and one with videos. Also, what I did with the videos as well is I renamed them. So I've got the pupils' names, first names, and what part they were playing as well, and that makes it easier when you're going into Garageband because you can see what instrument they're playing without having to remember everything anyway. So step 3, converting from video to MP3. Now, you could use a video to MP3 converter online, you could pay for one, but there is actually a way to do this on GarageBand without having to pay through the nose for a converter. So, you want to open GarageBand and just have an empty project. Now, it doesn't matter about anything down here because we're just simply converting the video to MP3. So you'll just hit choose, and it'll open up a brand new project for you. So in GarageBand, this will always pop up at the start because it assumes that you are going to record from the very start and you're not. So the safest one for me is just record using a microphone. There's no input because I'm not recording, so it doesn't matter about that. I'll just untick that and hit create. So this is your blank project. Now, because you selected the track at the start, it automatically puts one here. You can just ignore that, it's not important. So going back to the big band recording, I will use, so I'll go into Faith. I've got all my videos downloaded into this folder. So I'll just start by converting Mr. Barker, trumpet 1. So I'll just click and drag, not on this track here, but just down at this blank space here and release. So it'll automatically pop up in GarageBand with the movie. We can just exit that up here. And you'll see that the movie's still along the top, and here is Mr. Barker's audio track all along here, okay? You can see up here there's this tiny little lock, and that prevents you from editing anything in this track, so that's why we convert the files into MP3, and you'll see why later on. So to get rid of the movie, we go over here, click on it, remove movie. And before you export it, you want to get rid of this click and the metronome that are here, because if you export with the metronome on, you'll get that 120 click all the way through, and you can't get rid of it once it's exported as an MP3. So make sure this is off, and also make sure this one's off as well just by clicking them so they're not highlighted. Then to export this as an MP3, you'll go over to Shared and Export Song to Disk. So that creates a little MP3 file. Click on here and it'll open up where you want it to save. So I'll just go back into my folder, Faith, and then I'll go into the MP3 folder here. And then I'll rename it just so I know exactly what it is. So Mr. Barker, trumpet 1. And this will more than likely come up saying that it's already there. Yep. So it won't do that for you because this is the first time. And it will just create the MP3. Convert into MP3, and that is it done. So just to check that that's there, I'll go back over into this folder here. I'll go into my MP3 folder. And there it is there, Mr. Barker, trumpet 1. Okay, and that is just purely the MP3 file that you'll hear. So once you're happy with that, you'll do that with all the videos just to extract the MP3 from the videos. Once you've done all that, you can move on to step 4, which is creating the audio track. So we will get rid of this. Don't need to save it because it's an unnamed project. And we'll go back to the start here. However, this bit down here, the details section, is quite important because you want to enter your tempo, your key signature, and your time signature just to help you align everything up easy. So my tempo for Faith was 160. My key signature was F major. And my time signature was 4/4. I'll hit choose, and then it'll come up with the track again. So choose audio track and just hit create. It's not important, we can get rid of that. So before you do anything, you probably want to know where everything is on the track so you can create an arrangement track, which does help you align everything up a lot better. So you can go to track and show arrangement track, and this will create a little track along the top here, your arrangement track. So to add to that, you just press the plus button here, and you've got intro, and over here you can click and drag along just to make it as long as you want. So I know that the intro for this song, Faith, was 4 bars long. Then I'll hit it again and it'll create a verse, although I don't want it to be called verse, so I can click on this and press rename, and I'm going to call this the trombone verse because they carry the tune in this section. This section is 12 bars long, so I'll just extend that to make it longer. And there we go. And you'll keep going all the way along until you're quite happy. The chorus, again, 12 bars long. And you can rename these whatever you want, just to help you along the way. Once you've done your arrangement track, you again start adding in the audio. So we take the audio that we converted, and make sure it is the MP3 track, and just simply click and drag it into the project. Now you can see that the little lock has gone from here. That's because it's an MP3 and it's allowing us to do what we want to the track. So I'll just extend this out again. So the trumpets come in on bar 3. So I need to align Mr. Barker's entry with bar 3. This tool down here, you can just simply drag it across to shorten the track up to there. And I can try to align it. So I know that that will be off. So if I play that just now with the metronome on, so I can hear from the metronome that that is behind, although it does say that he's entering into bar 3 as far as I can see. However, up in the top right corner here, there is a little zoom button. You can click and drag that. You can see that that entry point is still quite far away, so you'll just sort that and drag it along, just so he's playing on time. So we'll check that. There we go. So he's a bit more in time, but there's a few notes that he is pushing slightly. We can fix that. So if we double click on the track, it will bring up the track down here, okay? Now there's a follow tempo and pitch option here. You want to click that. And as it'll do, it'll analyze the playing of the player. Again, there's this little horizontal zoom button down here as well, so you can get right in And ever so faintly, there are these tiny, tiny little lines here. That enables you to move the note around to wherever you want it to be. So I know that I want that note to be right on the beat. Same with this one, I'll click and drag it. This one's a bit too far forward. And then if you go over this one without clicking and dragging, there's a little X, and that'll just naturally push all the note backs. So you can watch from the top here as well that all these notes will jump back when I click the X. And that just keeps it sounding natural rather than too robotic. So when I play this now, there we go. So this one here is a little bit too far behind. So I'll click and drag that. I'll keep the note as natural as I can. And one more time from the start. There we go. So that is absolutely bang on now. There's all this empty space where Mr. Barker isn't playing at all. So what we can do there is just shorten the track and get rid of it here. Because if we have a listen, he's knocked something here. Can't really hear that with the metronome on. There's a tiny little nudge there where he's not playing anything, so we want to get rid of that. So we'll select the bar where he's not playing, and then on your keyboard you can press Command and then T, and it will split the track for you. So now using these slider options here, you can just slide all the way along just to get rid, in case there is any more knocking or banging or whatever in the track that we don't want. And that'll mean that there is nothing getting played between the beginning and when he next enters. And you can continue to do that all the way along the track. So there's a big empty bit here. So same thing, Command T. If you don't have that option on your keyboard, you can go Edit while you're highlighted on the track and split regions at playhead, which is exactly what we've just done. We're splitting the track just to get rid of anything. Click and drag along. And also here again, so there's a little bit of a knock there as well. Yep, and also here. So there's tiny little notches there that we don't really need because he's not playing. So again, Edit, split regions, that splits the track, and we can just get rid of all of that empty space until his next point of entry. Once you're happy with all that, you can continue to add all the other tracks. So you might want to do all the trumpet ones at the beginning and just add them in, or you might want to move on to another instrument. A handy thing to have is the score next to you as well, so you can see where they're meant to be playing. Especially with younger children, they can be quite out of time, but they're still learning. But this tool really is quite handy just to kind of push and pull the notes ever so slightly, so it's not too much out of the natural playing, but also makes your final performance really, really tight and together, so it really is worth doing. So once you've done all that, you'll just keep repeating that step over and over again, and you'll move on to step 6, which is adding effects. So I will exit off of this and show you my final track. So I spent time going through each track, making sure it was all lined up, putting everything in some sort of order. So I'll show you just here. So I've got all the tracks in here. You can see the empty spaces where I've been clipping the tracks, so there's no kind of noise that we don't need. Some of them are blue as well. I'll show you that in a second. But I've ordered them in the order of a big band. So I've got all the saxophones up here, and then I've done the trumpets, so they're all together as well. Then I went down to the trombones, and then I've got my rhythm section and percussion, everything down at the bottom. So I'm keeping everything quite neat just to make it easier to work with. So some of these tracks are blue, and what I did was highlighted the whole track. So I'll do the top one here, Mrs. Barker. By highlighting the whole track, you just click here, and you can see that everything is highlighted. And what I did was join regions, and that just makes sure that nothing's going to move accidentally. So it creates, there we go, a new audio file. Hit create. It'll scan the whole track, and then this track up at the top will turn blue. just like that. So it basically means that if I nudge anything by mistake, it's not going to move. Everything I've done is kind of saved in a way. So I'm happy with all that, so let's have a listen. So that is everything mixed. You heard a little bit of reverb there as well. It's because I've added in effects, which is what I'm going to show you just now. So these bars along here is the track volume. So you can go along and listen. You can also mute people. So if you don't want to hear that track, if you don't want to hear any of the saxophones, you can just mute all those. So you just, everything else. Or if you want to just listen to the saxophones, you can solo all of these tracks. So these are the only ones that you're hearing. Just like that. So these are what these buttons do over here. Oh. So I'll just undo all of that so I'm hearing everybody again. This one's here is a volume, so you can alter the player's volume. So you can see by the track here that Mr. Man's tenor is quite loud compared to Ella's alto, for example. So Ella's volume is a bit louder than Mr. Man's, and you just sit and listen and try and get a mix that works for everything. And you'll just carry on doing that all the way down. Okay. So the next thing you want to do is show track automation. This opens up the track volume. So if someone is too loud in a particular section or not loud enough in this example, so that it was a trombone verse, I just lifted the volume slightly until we got back to the chorus, and then I brought the volume back down. And it's just a tiny little nudge to just emphasize that the trombones are playing in this section here. Also with the drums as well, I brought them down in this trombone section because they were just a bit too loud. And also the guitar as well, I brought that down. So just tiny little tweaks like this will help enhance the final audio at the end. Once you're happy with that, you can go along the whole track and see what needs done. So I've just emphasized some of the volumes in here. You can see by the track that the players were doing it naturally, but just to help them a little bit, I just brought them down for their forte piano and helped them back up a little bit. And you can see that I've done that all the way along. Just kind of helped go through everything a little bit. And it does really, really enhance the final performance. It really is worth doing that. So I'll just zoom out. So there is the entire track from start to finish. I'm happy with everything. I'm happy that the placement's in. So now I'm going to go down here to the master track. So if that hasn't popped up, you can go to track and it will be, well, show master track, but I've got mine shown, so it's saying hide at the minute. So you just double click on the master track and it will open up all these sort of effects that you want. So you've got your master echo here. Over on the right, you've got master echo and master reverb. You can play about with those. You can have it on or off just by switching that button. And then once you're happy with the color, the volume of the reverb, everything like that, you can just slide up. Because drag the slider to adjust how much master reverb gets. It is really all self-explanatory in Garageband. It is really, really handy. And if you want to hear it with or without while the track's playing, you can turn it off and you can turn it on. You can turn it off and you can turn it on using that compare button, so it just lets you hear the difference. One big one that I would note is the drum kit. So I'll just solo the drum kit here. So that sounds okay because I've put a little bit of reverb on, I've done all the effects, I did all this prior. The EQ is the most important one for drum kits, so most of the time these final performances will be on Facebook or social media or something like that, YouTube, and everyone's got all those on their smartphones nowadays. So sometimes it can be really, really difficult to hear the bass drum being played in the drum kit. So here is our low end, and I've just boosted that right up just so we can hear the drum kit, the kick drum, sorry. If I drag that down and play it now, it is still there, but it's not as prominent as I would like, so I've just boosted that low end right up so it can be heard through a phone. Step 7, saving the MP3. So once you're happy with everything you've done, everything's nice and in time, what you want to do is just listen back to your track before you export it on loads of different types of things. So I'm on my desktop at the minute. I would probably stick some rubbish headphones in, listen to it through headphones. Then I would link it up to a kind of rubbishy Bluetooth speaker if I have one lying about at home, and you just want to experiment with all of the different sounds. Because if you're having really good headphones on and you play and you think, yeah, everything's perfect, everything's in time, and then you listen to it through a phone, chances are 9 times out of 10 the bass of the track is going to be right down, so you need to go in and just boost those slightly. So I really, really recommend just taking the time to link up all these speakers, link up all these headphones, and listen to what you've got before you export it as your MP3. Once you've done all that and you're completely happy with that, up here it's exactly the same as when we were exporting all the tracks as MP3s. Share, exports onto disk, and I would name this something like Faith Final Mix. Once you're happy with that and you're checked where it's saving, you just click export, and this will take a little bit longer just because there's so many tracks and so many different things that I've edited in this track. So once your track has saved as an MP3, it will pop up here saying converting to MP3, Faith Final Mix, and it will save. There we go, that's it done. So let's just check where it is. So I saved it in this folder, so Faith Final Mix, there it is, and I'll just hit play to make sure it's all there. I'll skip it forward. Yeah, I'm completely happy with that. So the 7 steps to creating an audio file through GarageBand, there we are. I really hope that was helpful for all of you out there. It's not as scary as it looks. It does take a little bit of time just to get that diamond out there, but it is so worth the final product at the end. All the kids that I've done this for, they're absolutely ecstatic with everything we've been putting out so far. So it really, it takes time, but it is really worth it in the end. So if that helped take the fear out of anything, my next video will be putting the video together through Final Cut Pro. Have a look at that if you're interested, but if not, thank you so much for listening.